talk. Real talk. Real talk. Real talk. Real talk. Real talk. Real talk.
Welcome. welcome. This is Brother Ezekiel
and Sister Sarah,
and we're here today for another episode of Marriage Matters Live. That's right.
Yes.
We're here on the show. Hope you guys are doing well. Another interesting topic. You know, the topics will just be interesting. You know what I'm saying? We've got another topic for today. So I hope you guys are locked in. You're ready to rumble. I hope you've got some questions there. We're about to set it off.
Hopefully.
Sarah says, hopefully.
Dude.
All right, guys. So, how you guys doing? Please, if you're here, just let us know where you're tuning in from. If you're watching this on a replay, thank you so much. Let's keep it on and popping. So, Sez, you remember what we're talking about today?
Yes, I do. It's sell your body or No. Celibacy or sell your body.
That's right.
I think we got a little typo on there, guys.
It does seem as though we do, guys.
Thanks to you know who you are.
All right, so celibacy or sell your body. So today we're going to talk about, one of those touchy subjects. Some people don't like to touch on them, but we're going to hit this up because I think it's necessary, man. It's super necessary for us to address this thing. There's so much going on in society today, so much conversation, controversy. So many people have this have the opinions that we can just live what we feel we need to represent. What I feel like today. So I want us to talk about some of those feelings, some of those experiences, and how they kind of fit within the scope of marriage, basically. But obviously, we're talking about celibacy. Typically, when you hear about celibacy,
it's related, like
many
kind
people,
of before, isn't it?
Yeah, many people kind of their minds go to a monk or one of those people who kind of are just devoted and devout and considerate. That leads me to the first question for today. First question is, what does celibacy mean to you? When you hear the word celibacy, what's the first thing you think of? What do you see? Who do you see? Who do you know that just kind of perks your imagination? You think about celibacy and boom, you see that person. What are your definitions for celibacy? I really want to know. Let's really open up the conversation with some of those kind of ideas as we start off, because I think it's important as we talk about celibacy and we talk about what it means to, I'll use a word, separate yourself. And we're not talking about the holiness per se, the big picture of holiness, but separating yourself physically, sexually, in a sense, it's important because it has a wider implication in terms of life. So you wanna have a little, shall I knock the ball over to you just to say a little something before we kick off?
What it means to me?
Let's go.
Well, for me, the first thing when I hear the word celibacy, I just think no sex. Right? Just keep yourself to yourself, and not just keep yourself to yourself, but you also have to keep your mind to yourself, because the mind could probably wander off into a place that can cause somebody to fall into that little trap kind of thing. So celibacy for me, sometimes when I think about it, I don't just think sexually, I think mentally as well. You kind of have to keep your mind away from those activities, those notions, those ideas, those thoughts and all that kind of stuff. So that's kind of what comes to mind when I think of it.
I think that's important. I think that's really important as an opener. So Sarah says when she thinks about celibacy, the first thing she thinks about is keeping abstinence, and I think that's a word that's the word that we would use, isn't it? Really, for us, maybe in a typical kind of conversation, if we're talking about this kind of thing, what we're really talking about is abstinence. And I think in a day and age where sex is such a hot topic, it's such a marketable commodity as the world has made it. It's important for us to kind of consider it that way, because that's what it is. It's abstinence. It's really kind of I say sex separation, setting yourself apart, choosing not to be involved in certain activities. And a quick example, quick story. I'm just thinking which way to go. It's a quick story. So obviously, we didn't start out our relationship celibate. That's not how we started our relationship out. That's right. So obviously, we kind of were little,
No. Oh my days, man. I was like, we didn't start our relationship. Obviously, we did for a little bit.
No.
As in, like, when you say we didn't start a relationship, we didn't just meet and start and have sex, babe. That's what I'm saying, isn't it?
We didn't have sex on the first date, no.
Yeah, no. Okay, cool. But obviously, when you say it like that, I'm like, no. Obviously, I'm feeling
okay,
it.
did we make a decision? You guys are here. We actually out now. You guys are watching that. I tell you, these are conversations between Zeke and Sarah. You guys are watching, right? So, did we have sex on the second date?
No.
Okay. So, what you're saying is there was a period of time.
Yeah.
Wasn't the third or fourth date?
No.
All right. That we went through that we didn't have.
That's right. Yeah.
Intimate relations in that sense. The difference between what you're talking about and what we're talking about today is that celibacy or the abstinence we're referring to is done based on a religious or a faith-based motivation.
Okay.
So was the reason we didn't have sex on date 1, 2, or 3,
Yeah.
4, 5, 6, or 7.
Like
Was that was that based on a religious motivation, a religious agreement between you or between me?
No.
Okay, so even though we were young children who had some religious upbringing, some kind of faith grounding, that wasn't particularly the thing that stopped us from engaging each other intimately in that manner.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is Marriage Matters Live. You guys know we go in from the first minute.
Hard questions.
So
hard questions.
We're here now. So obviously,
Yeah.
that wasn't the motivation for us not doing it. Even though kind of individually we may have felt as though, we're reserving ourselves to a degree, but that wasn't it. And I think this is important because today, there are many people who are not refraining from intercourse, from intimacy, based on their spiritual disposition. They're just doing it because it's not the right time yet.
Right.
You don't want to. How do they say it? Like for some of the girls, it's like you don't want to.
it.
No, not that. It's like you don't want to seem like you're trashy, basically.
Right,
Do you know what I'm saying? So that's a different motivation.
Okay.
We're not talking about somebody doing it for in honor of God.
Okay.
We're not talking about somebody doing it because they're considerate of the kingdom perspective. That's different. Okay. And funnily enough, and I thought you were going to go straight to it just then when you made that point. But what happened was, so when we kind of got together initially, we were young, extremely young, and it was just really kind of about friendship, I'd say. Really, it was really about it was an official boyfriend girlfriend status, 100%. Yet we were really focused on kind of knowing each other, and I'd said to Sarah, look, I've had some situations before.
That making my phone.
I've had some situations before with females, and I don't have time for this.
Yeah, exactly.
For games. So we need to ensure that
stuff.
this is a serious relationship.
Yeah.
I was all of 14, right? All of 14 years old.
You're going on 15.
And
Going on 50.
and so the point was, for me, I wanted this to be a serious thing.
Yeah.
And albeit we did have sexual relations before we were married.
Yeah.
A point in time came. We're going all the way in straight away.
We really
boy.
are,
We went all
guys.
the way in.
We've just gone straight.
All the way in. Like, this is level 9, guys. Right. Just for you guys. So there was a point in our relationship where we had determined that we were gonna stop.
Yes, that's right.
We were going to abstain.
Yeah.
Because we had both kind of switched on to the fact that our relationship with God was more important than our relationship with each other.
Yeah.
And really, this is what I want to talk about today. And I want to talk about this with respect to the union of marriage, and talk about this within the premarital kind of courting zone. Let's call it the courting zone. The reason being because there is a lot of challenges that ensue once you determine you don't want to be celibate. I think the scripture talks about kindling the fire. Listen, don't open that fire, because once you open it,
it's true. It's hard to contain. Fire is hard to contain once it's left out.
It's not a joke, and that fire
if it can even be contained.
Come on now, that fire of desire. Once you open it up, once you've kicked off desire, it becomes real.
Yeah.
Do you understand? And we experience that on the top end, but we'll come back to that in a little bit. So let's talk about young people and celibacy. How many young people today do you really think understand the value, genuinely understand the value of, and I'll use the big kind of overview, holiness, okay? And then we can zoom into holiness and we'll talk about celibacy. How do you think young people feel? And you can talk from your own perspective, talk from those young women that you've counselled, and then we can kind of come out if you want.
Oh, goodness. Yeah, it's one of the ones where you just kind of have to be like, you know what? For me, it's not really valued much anymore. This is the thing. And the world make it out like it's just part of life. It's just what you do on your day to day.
What is?
You know, it's sex.
Yep.
Right?
I just want everyone to know what we're talking about.
That it's just part of life.
Yep.
It's part of it's part of growing up.
Yep.
It's something that you should experience, whether it's you want to experience it with yourself or whether you want to experience with someone else, it's something that you should experience, whatever. And again, we have the educational system that are pushing these things onto the younger generation.
Come on now. Yes, they are.
They're teaching them.
Fast tracking them.
They're pushing them and teaching them how to even.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? And that it's okay to feel that. Like, when you start having those feelings, it's okay to express yourself.
Yes.
And once they start saying those things, obviously young people express themselves. What does that mean? What does that look like?
Come on.
You know, does that mean I need to date somebody? Does that mean I need to have a boyfriend, a girlfriend? Does that mean, you know? So for me, it's one of those things where a lot of young people are being taught too early, but then it's because the world has sort of watered it down. It's like it's nothing. You know, if you have sex with someone, okay, so what? Move on. Do you know what I mean? If you want to stay with that person, stay with them. If you don't want to stay with them, don't stay with them.
Yeah.
It's really become, you know, they're trying to make it out as like, as if it's just, it's the same as getting dressed in the morning. You know, if you want to wear this outfit, wear it. If you don't want to wear it, don't wear it.
Yeah.
Change it.
Yep.
Do you know what I'm saying? No, you like your hair long, you like your hair short. It's like they're not, it's not attached to a personal thing anymore. It's not attached to marriage. It's not attached to a relationship that is supposed to last forever kind of thing.
Yeah.
You know, so for me, I kind of feel like that's where the issue is, because even I wrote down, I truly believe that young people should be taught about celibacy.
100%.
It's something that even the parents should sit down. You shouldn't have to wait for your child to go to school for them to start learning about sex education when they get to a certain age, before you actually start teaching them and saying, actually, you know what, fair enough, they want to teach sex education, but do you know where it leads to? This is this, this is that.
That's right.
You know, and then teach them things from the biblical perspective. And even if you're not you know, a Christian or someone who has like biblical principles, you still have morals and ethics that you go by. You don't want your child you know, sleeping with any person that offers, you know. So parents again should take responsibility in teaching their children about celibacy. For me, I truly believe it's something that should be taught.
Yeah.
You know, and again, you know, I kind of feel like sometimes looking at it from the educational perspective, they probably think, oh, this is a subject that parents just don't want to talk about. This is a tough subject. This is a touchy subject, you know, or you know, you don't really want to have this conversation with your parent. You want to have it with someone that you relate to, or somebody that you trust, whatever it may be. So personally, I just think that parents should be able to sit their child that is of a certain age down and say to them, look, this is why I advise it. This is why we advise it. This is why, fair enough, we might not have gone down that route, but these were the negatives. You know what I'm saying? There's not much positives, you know, from this particular situation. But, you know, so for me, I think young people should be taught about it, because the world is fighting constantly. They're fighting, you know, they're in a place where there's so much being thrown at them that even the right information doesn't even sound right anymore. You know, it's like the truth is sort of drowned out. It's just drowned out, and for them, lies seem to sound more realistic than the truth. You know, just because of the way society is going. You know, for them, when they if you said to a young person now, what's celibacy? They'll be like, yeah, what is celibacy? They might not even know it as that word.
That thing those monks do.
That's what I'm saying. They might not even know it as that. It might be, for them, it could be, I don't know if there's any young people watching on the stream, but feel free to let us know what you guys call it today. But
how do you guys define it? Question's still open.
Yeah, exactly.
First question
how
of
do you
first
define
question of the night. How do you define celibacy?
Exactly.
Sorry, go on.
Exactly. So, you know, it could just be, I don't know. Do you know what I'm saying? But
something far from
something
the reality.
far from
exactly
what it is.
Yeah.
So again, it's about definitely educating the younger generation to value themselves. Even that's another topic. So yeah,
absolutely. So I think we need to really focus on the people who are not yet married, because in a major way, I feel as though this is a major space where there's a lot of discovery that's being done, basically. So you open up some really, really good points about the education system. And I think anything that's being taught out of the institution of the home, outside of the institution of marriage, to the children is a drama. Because what you're saying is you've brought children into the world and you're giving them to someone else to foster. They're the surrogate parents and they're going to take hold of them. And one of my brothers, years ago, he would constantly talk to us about homeschooling. And as much as people look at Sarah now as this kind of homeschool magnate, she's this homeschool superstar in the community in certain respects, the reality is we were totally against it at one point in time. Our oldest daughter was going to school. She was doing excellent in school. She was getting on all right. There were no problems. We were able to, and I think
even Jojo was doing great in school.
but this was way earlier, and I think there were a number of factors at that point in time that contributed to our perspective. God was favouring us with our child in school. The relationship we had with our child was so good. She would come and report to us every day about things that were happening. We coached her, trained her, developed her to the point that she was a very young but strong and independent character that could go out. And to the point that she would come back and tell us things that we could go to the school and challenge them on, basically. Yet, it was through conversations with Samuel and the family that we kind of started to acknowledge homeschooling, really think about it, begin to pray about it, look into homeschooling seriously, and saw that, you know what, the reality is we're giving the school this kind of role of surrogate parent over our child. And this is why what you're talking about right now is so deep, and it's really probably something we need to talk about on another stream. But when you talk about the teachings that come from the school about sex, sexual education, those things, this is a major a point of definition. What I say to parents, look, your school, the playground, schoolyard, makes or breaks your child. And it's not just the schoolyard, it's also the education that's coming in from school, because it's the children that are weaker in one area or stronger in another area that are going to drive a child to have sex early. They're going to drive a child to get involved with recreational drugs early. And all of these things feed into, you guys think what we're talking about, but all of these things feed into your marriage, your relationship, your character, your personality. So I think you said it right. There isn't a great degree of value on abstinence or celibacy for young people, those going into marriage, especially those outside of the kingdom, would say. Even those in the kingdom are influenced. And we've spoken about media so much. But
and we have to keep speaking about it, because this is where it all comes from.
You've brought a good point today when you make reference to the school system, because it's also educational systems, governmental systems, work institutions, somewhere the child is doing a work experience, those things. All of these things are also shaping the perspective and the view of marriage, of an individual in marriage.
That's right.
So, great point, and like so many avenues for us to tackle on. But let's go back now to talking about us. So, a lot of what I understood about sex, I learned from my friends, and I learned from movies, television, and music videos.
I didn't know anything.
Yeah, okay. So movies. Listen to this. So movies, friends, and school. All right. I'm watching movies.
Friends, and school. That's right. Yeah.
And music. Music. Let's say media, friends, and school. Basically, I remember those unpleasant sex education videos they made us watch. You're watching naked people walk around and talking about this and describing things, and it was kind of awkward and odd, but you'd want to sit there and just be, like, you know,
even that diagram that they had of the
do you understand? And so, like, all of these things, I think, raise a level of awareness, as you've said, extremely early, and push people to feel as though celibacy is not a thing, it's an abnormality.
Yeah, exactly. Because if they're teaching it, then it's kind of like, well, if they're teaching it, we're supposed to learn it, right?
Of course, they're not just teaching you about
and then obviously,
genitals and organs. They're also teaching you about safe sex practices.
Distributing condoms in schools.
Exactly, but they're not
distributing pills.
Absolutely,
stuff like that. We had there was the nurse. What did we used to call it? I can't remember what it's called. But you'd go and see if you kind of like had a headache, or if a girl started her time of the month and she wasn't prepared, she'd go to that section. And I remember before I left school, they introduced free condoms in schools. And you'd go to that department if you need it, and then the GPs started giving them out as well. So it's just, I mean, you think to yourself, a place where people would be like, how old are you? What do you think you're doing? This isn't for you. They're like, oh yeah, here you go.
Exactly.
Do you know what I'm saying?
And these things are problematic. So the idea, and of course we know, the scripture talks about the wide road, all right, and that narrow path, all right. So we already know that the world system is going to be contrary to the will of God. We know that.
Right,
so we know they're going to be training and conditioning and creating an environment that's conducive to ungodliness. We understand that. Yet it's important for us as parents, us as married folk, us as people in a position that are courting to understand the true position of abstinence and celibacy. Reason being, we started early. It wasn't first, second, or 10th, 12th day.
Like 16,
but okay, so a good few years into our relationship, and then we became active in that manner. And we, for the record, we did not abstain because of a religious motivation.
Okay, or anything,
thank you.
Yeah.
So now we became active, and this is where I really want to talk to people who are younger. I really want to talk to people who are courting. I really want to talk. I've got a few friends, and I take my hat off to them because they managed to, after opening the door of lust, some of them commit to, I won't call it a vow of abstinence, but commit to a period of abstinence until getting married and going forward. I've got other friends who actually managed to maintain a position of purity from birth until marriage, as tough as it may seem. Grown men, grown women. This is an amazing feat, and it's an expression that these things are possible. And
That's
they did it because of their desire to please God. They did it for their religious motivations. Basically, these things are important. So we kicked it off and became active in that manner. How difficult is it for a person to stop after they've started? Let's be real. Come on, let's go.
It's crazy. It's crazily difficult because it's like, it's like trying to wean yourself off something.
Yeah.
It's like, it's difficult. It is difficult because it's something you're used to now. It's part of your life. It's part of your day to day. And then to just be like, oh, sorry, I can't give you this anymore. Or
I don't want it anymore.
Or we're not having this anymore. Yeah. It's like, how am I going to cope?
And I think one of the things that we need to talk about as like, that's super serious, and this is, you find this when you're dealing with weight loss and all those kind of things.
Yeah.
There's a hormonal side of it.
Yes.
There is a chemical side of this that a lot of people don't understand. And once those chemicals are kicked off, and
you know, Hannah, I was going to say something before we fully jump onto that point, just talking about schools and stuff.
Yeah.
Did you not always find it strange? I don't know how many of you who knew girls in your school who got pregnant while being at school, right? This is where they, a lot of these things have come from there. We've had all the education, then there's the moving and everything. And then a girl gets pregnant and she can no longer attend school. Yeah. She can no longer, her education is cut short. And I thought...
But the school helped her to get into that situation.
I remember thinking to myself, like, how does that even make sense?
Yeah.
Why would you then teach that? To then when this young girl gets pregnant, you can't even have her in the school anymore.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, sorry, darling, your education's cut short. Especially if they were in almost sitting their GCSEs, and then they got pregnant just before GCSEs. They couldn't sit the GCSEs anymore because that time had passed.
Yeah.
From the time she was heavy or whatever. I remember having a girl at school, and she actually managed to stay till she was actually quite heavy. And I always thought to myself, but you're not going to see your GCSEs because that baby's going to come before your GCSEs. So I was thinking to myself, well, why get yourself in that position?
Yeah.
And as I'm sitting there thinking about it, I'm thinking to myself, well, the schools never turned around and said, fair enough, we're teaching you this, but we advise that you keep out till you're married and you're safe and secure and you've got someone to look after yourself. They never added that disclaimer to it. There was nothing. It was just, here's this information. Go out and do whatever it is you please with it, And if you end up getting pregnant or whatever, sorry, we've got nothing to do with this. We're not responsible. We're not here to help you. Do you know what I'm saying? And I always just found that a bit crazy because they push certain agendas, but then when that child gets into that position, there's no help for them from the system that put them in that place, So I just thought, I was sitting there just thinking about a few of the girls who got pregnant while we were at school, ended up dropping out, didn't end up getting their GCSEs, ended up getting looked at like, oh my gosh, what happened to her? Oh, she got knocked up kind of thing. And it's just like, and then you just have the whole, and then it's a bit. It was a ripple effect.
The vicious cycle.
That they didn't take responsibility for.
You're right.
But they're teaching it and sitting and they're just like giving things out, and there's no problem.
I think this is why for me. Thank you so much. I think this is why for me it's so important that we need to take responsibility as parents for the children that we're sending into schools, and stop with the tomfoolery that, oh, the school knows what's best for my child.
Right, yeah.
And I said, I know a lot of parents, especially in the kind of the whole epidemic that the world is going through at the moment, that people are like, oh, yeah, I need to send my child back to school because I don't know what to teach them. It's really kind of hit them hard. So they really feel the value for the school system now. I understand that. But just because the school may be able to teach a few subjects that maybe you didn't study as a younger person or didn't do well at or didn't excel at, that doesn't mean that they know everything about everything. This is very important for us to clarify. I appreciate you sharing that. So the chemicals, you were talking about the chemicals. So obviously you start chemicals are being released in the body. Your hormones are kind of at a particular space. And it's important to understand that once you kick off that thing, it's very difficult to draw back.
Yeah, definitely.
Now, you guys are looking at myself and Sarah. We're sitting here 2 decades in. We're deep, all right? And I want you to think about this. There are many relationships that after... This is where the sell your body comes into this.
Yes.
This is many relationships that after the very first, I'm trying to figure out how to phrase it properly. Very first period of intercourse.
The first time.
Okay, the very first time with that couple, things start to change.
Yeah.
Those chemicals start to flow.
Yeah.
Emotions start to fly. Thoughts start to run. And then what seemed like a good idea, and for a period of time, some short, some long, whatever, an extended period of time, there was this buzz of emotions and adrenaline and endorphins and all those endorphins like popping to and fro. But then after that moment, after that experience, normality comes back, and the person says, "I don't want you anymore. I don't like this anymore. I don't fancy you." And we're not talking about abstinence or celibacy now. We're now talking about an experience where somebody has given their gift, themselves, to somebody else, and that person now turns to reject them. And then what's happened? For whatever that person exchanged, be it time, be it gifts, be it experiences, they gave a part of their body and they're gone.
Yeah.
Spoken about soul ties before, so we won't go into that. Go back into the playlist and have a look at that video. But what has happened? They've given some of themselves. And the reality, I know it doesn't sound nice. Listen, I know this doesn't sound nice, but...
It's the truth, though.
They purchased a part of that person for whatever they exchanged, and they felt it warranted it. And then the problem is this now. They've sold a piece of themselves. A piece of themselves that they will never... ever get back. The person might have had a flash car. They may have been famous in the community, famous on TV. They may have had some money, whatever it was. That exchange that happened, and now, no more. And my point is, we'll give a few more examples, but my point is it really worth selling your body? Really? When the alternative, the opposite, is much better. Celibacy, abstinence for what God says we should abstain for.
Yeah, but I think for me, that's where we have to really inform. People have to be informed because they don't see it as selling their body.
Yeah.
Because, they think because they take that body back away with them, isn't it? It's not like the person's taking the body away, but there are aspects of the person that is being taken away.
Yeah.
But people don't see it like that. Again, like you just mentioned, we spoke about soul ties, and if you're not so familiar about that, please find that video and watch it. It's one of those things where someone will be like, "What do you mean I'm selling my body?"
Yeah.
But we've been together like 3 years. We're still
Yes.
together. Like, how am I selling my body? Or he promised me this and she promised me that. Do you know what I mean? It was an exchange of our relationship. This is an expression of our love.
Yeah.
So people have that mentality attached to it.
Yeah.
So for them, they don't see it like they're selling anything. They don't see it like they're, they know they're giving a part of themselves, but they're giving a part of themselves because they want to be with this person or they've made a promise to this person and they're keeping to their side of the bargain kind of thing. So it's one of those things where I feel like, you know, like you mentioned, some of the people that you know that were able to keep themselves, kept themselves because they were keeping themselves for God and they were keeping themselves because of their faith. But what are we saying to people who don't come from that perspective, who don't have that mindset, who don't have that sight of, okay, you know, this isn't what the Lord wants for me, that, you know, this isn't how I should live my life kind of thing, you know. So, because sometimes talking about this particular subject is not just for people of faith. People who are not saved should also understand this as a reality. Yeah. You know, so how do you then kind of put that across for them to understand without attaching, you know, the faith aspect to it, you know, because like we've discussed, it's their reality. Yes. You know, and until people are burnt 2, 3 times, 4 times. Because again, one of the issues that I find with this, with the whole abstinence thing is, if someone keeps themselves, meets somebody, has sex with that person, they then become attached because that's what it is. There's an attachment to it, and that person breaks up with them because that attachment is now sort of part of their being. So they now want to attach themselves to someone else. Yeah. So it then becomes a ripple effect of attaching. Yes. Do you get what I'm saying? And sometimes even you pray that person actually gets to the place where they finally settle down and get married. So they don't keep looking for someone to attach themselves to. Yeah. You know, that again in itself is a major problem. You know, and some people don't have any attachment. So they're all right to go from one person to another, to another, to another, to another, because they don't get attached to people, you know. So when we're dealing with people like that, it's sort of kind of challenging, because how did they get to that place
where they are
so free to just keep jumping from one place to another? Yeah. Do you get what I'm trying to say? So for me, those are like some of the things that I'm sitting here, I'm thinking about, like, how would I say to someone who is not in the faith, or who's a Christian, who doesn't read the Bible, how would I explain to them that, look, keeping yourself for your husband or your wife is very important. Do you get what I'm trying to say? Because I feel like sometimes, you know, people are like, oh no, that's for people who go to church, and that's what they do. Yeah. Do you get what I'm saying? I feel like celibacy is associated with faith.
Yes.
Do you get what I mean?
And we've described that when we said that it is exactly that. It's abstinence based on the foundation of a faith.
So if somebody doesn't have a faith, they can't be abstinent.
So that would be abstinent. So we're talking about words now, and really that would be abstaining as opposed to remaining celibate for religious purposes. Let's say let's say, for the sake of this conversation, that celibacy is a religious word and abstinence is a secular phrase. Let's say that. Okay. Why? But essentially, you're saying, why is abstinence important for people generally? Yeah. Okay. So the example I used to give when we were younger is this. Let me give another. Okay, I'll give this example first. So the example I used to give to some younger people when I was younger is this. It's like, look, I've said it before, maybe you guys heard me. I said, look, I'm advising young men, I'm saying to them, look, be careful, right? Don't go around and sleep with someone else's wife, because you don't want someone else to have slept with your wife. We live in a day and age today where, you know, people are free, and obviously a lot of people have had a lot of experiences before they meet their partner. However, the reality is, you know, relationships are something special. Intimacy is best shared between two people exclusively. You only need to look on TV and look at the relationships and all of these people that have what many perceive to be arrived, and like, you know, they're what do they call it now? Life goals, whatever. I don't know how they call it now. So they're living life, and yet their life in many areas is a mess. It's a shambles. So I say to them this: look, every time one of these young men goes and say, yeah, I'm a done, I had 3 girls today, I had 5 girls, and they're having competition with their friends about how many girls they can have. The mistake is that they don't understand is someone might be playing that same game with the woman that they one day want to settle down with. And they'll be using these funny phrases, you can't make a so-and-so out of a housewife and all those kind of stuff. Or I think that's it, And it's the other way around, actually, I think. So, but
can't turn her into a house.
Yeah. So, and it's interesting because the realities that we're facing today are, it's okay to do whatever I want to do.
Yeah.
Except for when it comes to your own personal things. And God's view on this is, look, I want the best for you. I've reserved the best for you. So maintain for the best. And that involves discipline. It involves focus. It involves sacrifice. But a lot of us are not aware of that. So the point is, going forward now, that's the example I'd give to the young men where they're on a spiritual journey. I said to them, look, be mindful, because all of these women you're playing with, or say young women, all these guys you're playing with, what's going to happen is you're, in essence, sowing a seed. The seed you're sowing is just sleeping with other people's partner. And in turn, you be praying, oh, I want a good woman, I want a good man. And if what you're inviting is other people to have slept with that person's partner, basically. So young men, let me look this way. Young men, if you don't want no one to sleep with your wife, you're still searching, don't be sleeping with no one else's wife.
Single men, because you could be.
Yeah, I'm talking about.
Listen,
that word is for those of you who are ready to be courting and getting married. So now, men in general, yeah.
Yeah.
So now, moving on from that, the second thing is this. The example is this. Look, think about a battery. All right. So you have a battery. You go to the shop. You purchase a battery. The battery is to be used in something. Okay. So you take those batteries. You put them in your remote control. And then you go away, you start to use your remote control. You're using it, and it's working. And what people don't see is that every time they press that button, a little bit of life, a little bit of energy, a little bit of force, people like that word, innit? A little bit of the power in that battery is seeping away. It's seeping away. It's seeping away. Until you get to the point, I like to use rechargeables, So until you get to the point where your rechargeable is empty.
Yeah, that dies at some point too.
It's gone. It's flat. It has no more power, energy, life. It is no longer good for what it was formed for. So now what do? I take my rechargeables and I put it in my battery charger. And you need to leave them there for a period of time for them to restore, what I like to call restore and recover. After the period of restoration and recovery, you can then use them again. People don't see that this is what's happening with their life. Every time a man lays down with a woman that's not his wife, every time a woman lays down with a man that is not her husband, a little piece of them is going.
That's right.
It is being used. It's being utilized for something else. And the problem is when the thing that energy is being used on turns and rejects that person, turns and rejects them, they have
a mental breakdown.
Yeah, listen, you know what? The day and age we're living in today is evident. We all know people. No one can tell me you don't. We all know people who have become sexually active, and after that, there's been some sort of challenge, a drama, a trauma based on a relationship. These things were like a regularity when we were in school. We left school. These things there was a continuum. It's like we experienced these things out there in the world. This is what happens. God's desire is for us not to go through that trauma, not to go through that drama, not to go through those experiences. Somebody on the outside who is not a kingdom member still has the capacity to see that value.
Of course.
You understand? Look, people have been intimate with someone else. The person's long gone. They're separated. You play certain music around them, they go straight back to that person. They close their eyes in certain instances, they go straight back to that person. They smell a certain scent, they go straight back to that person. Soul Ties, watch the video in the description, in the thing. It's there. And the challenge is that those things have an effect. They have a long-lasting effect. The person has given away, maybe you won't like the word sold, given a piece of themselves to somebody else. And you want to give to your life partner. Husbands want to give to your wife. Wives, you want to give to your husbands. That's the way God said it. That's the way it should be done. Celibacy is an important proponent of every individual's life. A man and woman should be celibate from birth until marriage. Listen, it don't always work out that way. I've shared it with you guys. I've shared it with you guys. So let's come back to our story. So started early. Took a few years before we became active. Once we got active, you couldn't stop us. We were playing the game, And then we got to a point where our faith became the most important thing.
Yeah.
It wasn't about the fluffy feelings we were giving each other.
Yeah,
It wasn't about what was going on in our life. It wasn't. We became engaged in pleasing God.
Yeah, and that awareness was high.
Yes.
You know, and it's funny because it's when that started to happen, we realized it's kind of like when you let God into your relationship,
Yeah.
he gives you the opportunity to see clearly the areas of error.
Come on now.
And when you begin to see those areas of error, it's now down to you to say, do I want to continue in this foolishness or do I want to fix up? You know, and I'm super glad we made the decision to, you know, fix up. And as hard as it was, and you know what? It was even one of those things where we literally had to ask God to help us because the flesh was crying, the flesh was screaming, the flesh wanted to do what it wanted to do. And it's something that took the strength of God, really.
It took
you know,
time as well. It took time.
And it took time.
It didn't happen in one day. It didn't happen.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know, for us to really begin to see the value of what it was that we were doing, to not, you know, to stay celibate in a sense, and to not have sex, and to just kind of begin. And as well, it helped the relationship to grow because we moved away from it just always kind of being like, oh, that's how we get down, that's how we get intimate.
That was how we relate.
So,
that was the peak of our intimacy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But then we had to really now find new ways to really begin to engage each other. And I truly believe that that's what helped strengthen our relationship. And then even entering marriage like that as well, you really, I mean, because, you know, the fun... It was hard, but at least we had the opportunity to rectify. Do you get what I'm saying? To rectify. A lot of people don't... Not that they don't have the opportunity, but they don't give themselves that opportunity to rectify.
I think they don't give God the place. So essentially, it was... we normally talk about this in kind of coaching stuff, and I'll just share it with you guys, really.
Yeah.
It was so difficult that we would have intercourse. And after intercourse, like the mind was just so kind of aware of God. The flesh was so like high, and it's like we'd have a moment of intercourse, and then I'd grab Sarah's hand, I'd be like, you know, we need to repent now. Listen, we're kind of just. Let me give you not the full picture, but it's just like this was a real challenging experience.
Exactly, it was a reality for us.
You're conflicted in mind, and it was just like, you know, and imagine if that scenario would happen more than once in a day. It's like you're really becoming conflicted. There's a real challenge here. You're trying to reverence God, but you're fighting against this carnal desire that you've permitted to be open up. This was a real challenge. So these are some of the things that people are going to go through. And I'm talking about believing people. You're a believing person and you want to honor God and you understand what God says is right, the position that God said we should be in. And these are some of the conflicts we experience. And that may not be your experience, that may not be your conflict, but these conflicts are rife. And I genuinely believe that if we were to rewind and do it again, I'd advocate for celibacy.
100%.
I will teach the things I'm telling you guys now. I'm going to talk to my sons about these things.
Yeah, definitely.
When they're of age, and explain to them these are the challenges, these are the problems we went through. At the appropriate time, we'll talk over these things with some of our daughters and explain to them so that they can understand the scenarios, the challenges, the problems that ensue from this kind of stuff, so that they are empowered to make good decisions. It doesn't mean that they're guaranteed to follow in the instructions we give us.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean they're guaranteed to follow in the footsteps that we've left them with.
Yeah.
But the reality is we will inform them and prepare them to ensure that they have what they need to make a successful relationship. I don't want my son sleep with anyone else's wife. I don't want my daughter sleep with anyone else's husband. It's important that they understand the value of this. People look at us and be like, oh, your relationship's so sweet, so lovely.
I was going to say that. People are like, oh, but you've not turned out all right. Do you know what I mean?
And this is the problem, because if you went back to where we started, could you tell we were going to end up here?
That's exactly.
Sarah just spoke to you about the height that sex had as at the point of intimacy in our relationship. And it's like that for a lot of people. You ask a lot of people today, what's the greatest portion of intimacy of your relationship? And they'll be like, yes, sex. And that's a problem, because our relationship, once we decided to include God and make him at the kind of the head, the chief, most important thing of our relationship began to develop in ways it hadn't developed before.
That's right.
When we were physically active in that manner. So I think that's just a little bit of our story, just so that it's clear to the guys, because we didn't start out celibate. We went through kind of just the normal way that a lot of people go through, got to the point where we decided, okay, we need to abstain. We need to stop this. We need to like really seek forgiveness from the Lord, repent, and then go forward as if this is the new standard.
Yeah.
And we went into kind of towards and into marriage that way, knowing that we were prepared, we were focused, and this is what the Lord desired for us. Basically, these things are important. So
It was good.
one thing I talk to you guys about hard questions all the time. So one thing I want to say is this is a question for you on your list of hard questions, and it's, what do you think about celibacy? Do you understand? And
Definitely.
do you believe in abstinence?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I guess that, you know, if that question is put forward early, then both of them have the ability to choose. If one person already knows that they're not trying to have sex before marriage, they're really waiting. This is something they do desire.
Yeah.
And they meet somebody and the person's just like, yeah, I'm ready tomorrow. Do you know what I mean? Forget that celibacy stuff. Like, you're not my first girlfriend, do you know what I mean? Or you're not the first person I'm dating, or I'm not a virgin, do you know what I mean? What do you mean? That should automatically say to the person who is interested in celibacy, well, maybe this is not the person for me. Because, you know, you don't want to find yourself... That person wouldn't want to find themselves in a position where they're fighting and struggling with themselves because of another person, you know?
Oh, go on.
No, but I'm just, you know, so for me, it's kind of like having those hard conversations early really gives people an upper hand.
Absolutely.
To avoid hurt and pain and having to go through certain things. Because if you just automatically think, oh... yeah, it's cool. We're not going to do it. Do you know what I mean? Oh, you know, and then it's like... Without the conversation.
Yeah.
And then there's the pushing and the prodding. You're just like, what's all this pressure? And there's pushing the prodding. And then before you know it, the person's kind of given up because they really want to be with that person now. They didn't have that conversation. It's a bit too late.
Yeah.
They're falling...
giving too much time to the relationship.
Yeah, exactly. They've invested themselves and all that kind of stuff. So it's definitely, you know... But we're definitely going to come up with a hard questions checklist that we're going to share.
You guys will see that. Hopefully some of you guys got our checklist from last week.
Yeah.
What was I going to say? So alongside that, I wanted to quash some of these pros. So, you know, people are like, oh, there's so many reasons why you need to try before you buy. Do you understand that? So the first one is, I need to know if they're good or not.
Yes.
And look, this is a major... Like, I've had this conversation with some sisters, you know, back in the day when we were going through some coaching and that. And look, this is an issue, yeah? Because thinking along those lines means that you are carnally minded towards your relationship and not spiritually minded. Yeah, but the body is a realistic component. It is. But in much the same way that you can learn to ride a bike, in much the same way, I know some people don't have the what's the word now? The momentum, you know, when it comes to dancing and that, they don't have that kind of, what's the word? You know what I'm talking about. But it's like you can teach a person, same way you can teach a person to drive a car, to ride a bicycle, you can teach a person to understand what you want, what you need, what your desires are. They can teach you and you grow together in that manner. And if you are so focused on, I need to know if they can do it right. The problem is probably that person's had some experience in the past that they want to compare to, that they want to, do you understand? Or they're having some conversation with their friends that they want to bring that spice into the bed. And it's like, those things are problematic.
Yeah, I want them to leave in the comments, like, what type of things have they heard attached to, you know...
Reasons why you need to try before you buy.
Try before you buy, do you know what I'm saying? Because I'm not sure if the good outweighs the bad in a sense, you know, kind of thing. So yeah, just let us know.
Listen, there is no good, fam.
Let us know.
Because okay, so let's go again. I had two other questions for you. I'll ask you one more now. So based on now what we've discussed and some of what we've opened up over a little more than half an hour, I want to know, what do you guys feel? Do you guys feel that celibacy has value? Do you now see some value in celibacy? Yeah, if you were to rate the value in celibacy from 1 to 5, you say 5 is I see total value in celibacy, and 1 like no value at all, or 0 even no value at all. Like, rate it between 1 to 5 in the comments. Let's know what your view is towards that.
Yeah. So you were saying? You were just saying about
question those things.
Yes.
Yes. So you tell me what you think the pros are, and then I'll tell you what the reality is.
Well, listen.
Or what they say the pros are. I should say what you think. Tell me what they say the pros are.
Okay, so having conversations with many friends multiple times
Yes.
who do not have the same stance as myself.
Yeah.
It's always kind of been, yeah, but Sarah, like, I don't want to get to the place where we get married and man can't do nothing.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? Or I don't want to get to the place where I don't know what I can do, what I'm capable of. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like we've had, I've had conversations and it's kind of been like, yeah, but what if I'm shy? I don't want to get married and be shy. Because I feel like a lot of people think, the sex has got to be done straight away. As soon as you get married, it's got to be, everyone's got that honeymoon night thing.
Yeah.
There's the whole honeymoon night thing. And it's not even something that you have to, even with that whole honeymoon night thing, where did all that come from? Because even that alone is pressure for someone who has just gotten married to have sex straight away.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? They might not even want to do it straight away, but there's all that whole pressure towards it. So there's that, what if they're shy? What if, they don't like it? You know what? Some people have genuinely said they actually don't like having sex.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? So what if they marry somebody who's highly sexually, and then they're not? That's all
right. Okay. You're throwing 1,000 questions at me.
Right. Okay. So let's start
with
with that then, isn't it? Because obviously this is Marriage Matters, and your marriage does matter, and we know that some people do have that issue.
Two. I'll tackle two. So one you said was, what if one's super active, the other one is not? They don't like it.
Yeah.
And the one before that was,
what if they're like shy or something?
What if they're shy? Okay. I think
there was that one, and there was also, what if the person's just like no good or kind of like boring or whatever.
Okay. So I think the boring one I've said already. You can learn, you can teach.
Definitely.
That's important.
Yeah.
I think when you talk about the person who is super high active, the other one's not. So it was the honeymoon. How did we get to the honeymoon phase? So I think when we talk about the super kind of high libido, low, I think what's important is to understand your partner. So marriage is really about sacrifice. The scripture tells you that my body belongs to you, your body belongs to me. So you know what that means. And and so the reality is that especially when you're coming into a marriage newly, these are things that we need to begin to learn. Marriage is a commitment to learning how to be the best servant and learning how to sacrifice as best as possible. So really, I've learned so much about sacrifice from being with you. And I pray you've learned some from being with me also. And it's like, you've got to learn how to give of yourself. The scripture says, this is how the Bible says it. And I can testify to this being a reality from experience. It says the greatest love you can have for another or demonstrate is to lay your life down for them. I want to do something a particular way. I don't want to be super active all the time. You might want to. Or I'm saying, no. I'm saying, I want to be super active. You're saying, no. It's about me and you finding ourselves closer to each other, closer to the space where we are in agreement. The scripture says that it's the husband's duty to love his wife like Christ loves the church. Christ laid his life down for the church. So this is very important. So if this guy is kind of like super high, super intense, super on it, and his wife isn't, then the focus is for him to somewhat learn to control and curb himself, and maybe talk with her, understand where she is. And the major goal for me would be to teach her, because the problem is, in a situation like that, if we don't find a place that's kind of common between the two of us, this then is an open door to breakdowns in that relationship. This then is an open door to somebody start looking in a magazine, or somebody start looking at another woman, or a woman start looking at another man. These are issues that can be really prevalent. So I think, and really I'm talking, it goes in line with what I said before, it's really about learning each other. But the focus is, marriage is a commitment before God to this other person, to be there, everything basically. And when I say that, I mean as a husband to serve you the best way I can, and the same vice versa. You asked the other question about the whole, where did the honeymoon thing come from? I think, look, two people, if in an ideal world, and this is the problem, if they have been celibate, if they've abstained, like in my opinion, from birth until this day, then obviously the night is going to be explosive. You're going to expect there's going to be fireworks, there's going to be a lot of tension, a lot of kind of excitement, which is normal and expected. Yet it should be fun, and it should be a learning experience. It shouldn't be pressure. And I say this to you again, for me it was friends the media, music, and the educational institution. This is where I learned about this. So if other people are learning from the movies and they're like, oh, I want this, or I see that, and you don't really know what you want.
Yeah.
You don't really know what you want until you get there, and then you decide. You can decide in advance, but you want to decide from a place that's not motivated by demonic, devilish story writers or institutions or organizations. You want it to be godly. You want it to be wholesome. You want it to be fruitful. You're not trying to hurt each other. You're not trying to, do you know what I'm saying? It's like you want it to be an experience that's loving and meaningful. So this is something I think a lot of people don't understand, and because they're so driven, so focused on what they have heard, what they have seen, and the foolishness that's purported, they go in with a kind of a wrong mindset. So there's nothing, I don't think there's anything wrong with being excited about the honeymoon night. I think it's more about the approach towards it.
Yeah.
We want to approach it respectfully.
Yeah.
We want to approach it in honor, I think. And I think that's important. So there was another one you had there as well. I don't think I tackled that. So those are the two I could remember. What else? Is there anything else?
Not really. No, I can't really think of a lot of the questions on the top of my head. I have to kind of like go back and dig up the conversations that I've had, kind of thing. But
Go for it.
The other one about, where it's kind of like that entitlement kind of thing.
Tell me.
We've kind of slept together now, so he's not going anywhere. Do you know what I'm saying? There's that one. He's getting it so good here. He's not gonna go anywhere else. There's that mentality that some women do have, that they believe that them selling themselves to this boyfriend, to this person that they're dating, is gonna lock it in.
Now, you know what? Thank you. That's a really good position for you to bring forward. And I'll say this respectfully, so everyone can follow. But
Respectfully.
do you know what's the difference between one woman and another woman? What's the difference between one man and another man? And we could talk about a number of differences in the way that we are built. But the reality is, a man is a man and a woman is a woman. And I think that position you're describing is really, it's a proud position.
They're also deceived.
Initiated from a position, initiated from a posture of ignorance. All right.
Okay.
And the problem is this, because if a woman thinks that giving a part of her body, being sexually active or having intercourse with a person secures that relationship, she can't be further from the truth. The reason being and the reason I say what's the difference between a man and a woman is because another woman can have the same. Listen to this, physical experience, the same physical relationship. Yes, there is an element of spirituality. Sexual intercourse is a spiritual interaction, 100%. It's spiritual. Yet the physical mechanics of that, if a woman thinks, and she's thinking carnally, she must be by the statement, yet she's giving it to him so good that he's not going to go anywhere else. The problem is that another woman can actually perform the same physical action. This is why people go to the red light district in different places and they pay for what should not be bought in that manner. And it reveals the immaturity in that woman, the immaturity in society, and highlights the importance of us to understand what real relationships are made from. What is the true foundation of a real relationship? Sex is not what keeps a man with a woman.
Yeah, but then when there's the pressures when the pressures of the world is saying that, I know people who are single.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? They've ended up with children and they're still not married, and it just continues to cycle that way.
Come on.
Right? But then they're in a trap where it's like you get into a relationship, and if that's not taking place in a relationship, it's technically not really a relationship yet.
What? Okay, so if there's no sexual intercourse,
yes,
we haven't arrived at true relationship status.
We haven't really got to know each other yet. This relationship isn't progressing. Like, a lot of women are under pressure to prove that they're willing to
give everything. Okay.
Including their bodies.
And what I'd say, listen, if my sister's right there, you're going through this, or you know someone that's going through this, this is what I say to you.
Just keeping it real out.
Tell him to marry you. All right? Tell him to listen. If he doesn't have the power, the strength, the character, the resolve to marry you, to engage you, to engage you in that next level of relationship, he doesn't deserve your body. The reason being because sexual intercourse is not guaranteed to lock in the relationship for life.
Of course not.
And this is the problem. So yes, society has all of these pressures, and we're looking at it, and the scripture says, it says, by their fruits you shall know them. So look at all the things that society is putting pressure on us for. Now go and evaluate the fruits of what they're telling us to do. And what do you see? Sister Sarah said before, you're looking at young women in school being provided with all of the materials and the resources they need to go out and practice what they classify as a safe kind of intercourse area. And you find that relationships are being formed where young women are getting pregnant so early that they can't finish their educational series. This is challenge. So the same place that's saying to you, here, take this, do this, is the same place that you cannot stay and complete your course because you've taken their advice. And this is what I'm talking about. So it's like, look at the fruits of what you're being told to do. Be honest with yourself. Be sober-minded. Be remove yourself. Look, I tried to teach my oldest daughter this, and we've been going through this through multiple dispensations since she was younger, and now she's older. I'm trying to say to her, look, the best way to be honest about a situation, if you don't have the capacity to see it for yourself, is to remove yourself. See two completely different people in that situation, and it's hard because we have a bias in mind, but see someone else taking the actions you're taking and ask yourself, is that fair? Are they doing the right thing? And then when you are honest about that, no, that was wrong, then turn back and tell yourself, you know what I've done is wrong. Because the scripture says we see every single one of us thinks that we're right. In our mind, we think we're right. And that's why we do the things we do. Because we think we're right, we agree with them.
But at the same time, you know, it's, for me, I mean, one of the issues that I have is the fact that women are okay to expose their bodies. They're okay to wear these ridiculous tight clothes. They're okay to walk around flaunting themselves all around the place. And then when a guy's kind of like, oh, this is what they're expecting, it's kind of like...
He objectifies them as in accordance with what they're presenting.
Exactly. And then it's kind of like, oh, no. And it's just like... So for me as well, apart from the whole celibacy in your mind, you have to be celibacy in appearance sometimes, in a sense. Like you shouldn't really be approached in a sexual way. The person that's approaching you should be approaching you because they actually want to talk to you and not talk to what you're wearing. Do you get what I'm trying to say? And I feel like with all these dating sites and all this kind of stuff, women post themselves in a way where it's kind of like, oh, I'm ready, you know, kind of thing. So it's not even just because a lot of the times, you know, it's easy to kind of really shoot this in the male direction when it comes to pushing for sex kind of thing. But women also have to take responsibility for the fact that they might look a way where the guy just automatically thinks like she wants it kind of thing, you know. So for me, there are all these other little things that take place as well. It's not just as simple as you know, kind of cover up or don't dress a certain way. It's like a package. It's all encompassing. It's all encompassing.
You're right. And I think what you're talking about now is kind of really a topic for another day because the nuts and bolts of this hinge to a frame, a core that is spiritual. And that's what you're talking about now. We're talking about the celibacy, you're talking about the way that you dress, you're talking about the mindset, you're talking about having a right mind. All of those things are spiritual in nature. They come from a place, from a spiritual core, basically. It's very important that we understand that. So if we start breaking that into that now, we'll be here for about another 2 hours. So I understand what you're saying, and I agree with you massively. And what I'd say is that we're now talking to a slightly different audience. We've kind of we've kind of said, you know what? There's the married, there's the unmarried. Now there's the spiritual, there's the unspiritual. Now what you're really the people you're really talking to are the spiritually those people who desire to develop and grow spiritually, basically. So we'll come back and we'll talk about that. You know, maybe modesty in dress and mindset and the objectification of women as sexual object, as sexualized objects on another stream. So let's go straight to the comments.
We can read the comments, and I'll ask 2 more questions. I think maybe after we've read them. No, because one of the questions that I don't know if you want to kind of answer now is like, should celibacy or is celibacy a thing in marriage? That's like
that was my question too.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. So that was my question. Okay. So I'll chuck that to you guys. That was my question for you guys. That was my third question for you guys. So, do you feel celibacy has a place in marriage? And I want to hear what you guys have to say. I want to hear what you guys have to say. So you guys throw that in. You can see how our connection works. This is what I say to you. It's like, through the fellowship that we have, it's not just about intercourse. Sarah just brought a question. We do this all the time. I thank God for His grace, but it's important to be connected in mind and in heart, not just in body. It's really, really important. But those things happen by inviting God into your relationship. We both done the same question. We never spoke about that. But that was my question for you guys. So you guys chuck it in and let us know what your view is of that. What's the last question you had? Let me see if I can answer that.
And is it really is it really destructive? Oh, it's 2 questions. Sorry.
Go for it.
Is celibacy destructive? No, is not being celibate really destructive for a marriage?
Yeah. Okay. So, okay.
Like, if people, you get what I mean?
Yeah. So I think
going into marriage without.
No.
Yeah.
As you mean, so in marriage as practice or pre-marriage?
It kind of
is the lack of celibacy really destructive?
Yeah.
In what sense? Where? Just generally?
Yeah, just general. Like, if somebody just is, if somebody isn't celibate and they get married, is it destructive?
So again, that leads, like, the Soul Ties video really talks to this, and I think the thing we need to be careful of is this: just as people, there's a tendency to compare and to contrast. I spoke about a friend I had way back, and he was always comparing girls, and it's like I learned just from him. The complexities of that process, and it was like, she cooks like this, she cooks like that, and if only she could cook like this and that, then that would be great. Then her body was like this and her body was like that. But it's just like, it can be very, very destructive. It's a good word that you use. And if once you get into a marriage now, especially if a person is not spiritually minded, how do you shut off all those thoughts? How do you shut off all of those imaginations? How do you shut off all those experiences of the past? People say, you just do it, but it's not that easy. You carry those things with you, and so it can be very dangerous in that part, in that vein. So when I talk about being celibate from birth until marriage, it's really about protecting yourself, guarding yourself from those experiences. But as you said, and I used to say it to my dad when I was younger. So as you said, people get into these challenges and don't realize until it's pepper time, till it's hot. And I say to my dad when I was young, I used to say to him, Dad, why do people like to learn from their own mistakes? And this was the challenge. Constantly we find people not listening on. My dad would give us such great wisdom when we were young. He still does it today. Such great wisdom. We're young, and he's like this older guy, and it's like when people talk about dads, like looking back at the experience, I didn't always utilize the wisdom he gave me, and I'm thankful for what he'd given and what I was able to use. But the challenge is that there's so much that's given that we don't apply, and we get into these hot spots, these hot challenges that really test us. And I'd say to him, Dad, why do people do this? And I won't tell you the answer that he gave me today, but it's one of those things that we need to be mindful. We need to, as people, need to be mindful of the situations that we find ourselves in and really think forward. If we think forward, then we're able to avert the challenges that will come in the days ahead, basically. And this is one of the things I tell you about: be celibate, be abstinence, and then the person is now battling with my words versus all of the media imagery, all of the pictures, all of the voices, all of their friends. Friends are saying, oh, this was great, that was great. Their work colleagues are saying, oh, this is amazing. And then they're thinking and feeling emotionally challenged, distraught, feeling problematic. So they try a few things out. Then they don't feel the pain until they go into their relationship or they start trying to court or date someone seriously. So do you think that people should really try to marry someone who's equal in a sense? What does that mean?
Not someone. Okay, so someone who has been having sex all their teens, their 20s, and then they get into their 30s and they've never been celibate, and they're getting married, and the person that they're getting married is someone who's been celibate the whole time. Do you think, like, the balance, it should be Do you get what?
Ooh.
Because
listen, I'm not gonna answer that. I'm not gonna answer that now. So listen, the person you marry needs it. Like I don't have the. I can help you to identify the people that you need to run away from. 100%.
Well, yeah.
But and I can help you kind of consider some of the people that we can help you consider some of the people that would be a good fit for you. But when it comes to picking your spouse, you need to be prayerful. You need to be led by the Spirit of God. And if you don't have the Spirit of God, if you're outside of the family of faith, well, you know what? You need to come in. You need to come in because God is no respecter of persons. He would happily help you right where you are. Just come into the kingdom, come over and allow God himself to take you down the road of spiritual maturity and development. And he will help you and lead you to where you need to be. So I won't answer that question. No. She jumped up in the spot. All right, cool. Into the comments we go. I hope you guys have just been enjoying the conversation so far. Who is here today?
Yes.
Kat Johnson. Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
How are you doing? Mrs. I Can Win says,
Yes,
good evening. Good evening. Oh, we have the Akin Tades.
Yes.
He says, these are my people. Glory to God. More grace. Thank you so much.
Thank
We
you.
bless you. We bless you, man and woman of God.
Ecosmios.
Hey, family.
Hi.
How you doing? Mrs. I Can Win,
Y'all going
She said so. Do you know what? We started early and it was just one of those things. I give God praise. This is what we do, innit, man?
Yes,
I just really want us to be given to what he wants us to do. So we're trying. Thank you. We love your support, sis. Ecosmio says, go on, Sarah, out here like, nah, I was not giving it up on date 1 or 2 or 3.
That's right.
So to make sure, she be giving us all the juice. Yep, we got that. Mrs. I Can Win is laughing. Grace I says, defo haven't heard it from a young person as abstinence, but usually as celibacy.
Okay.
Oh, there you go. And I think the important thing there, like when we're considering young people, is what does celibacy mean? Like we spoke about already.
Yeah.
So is it? I'd be interested to understand. Have you heard celibacy as I'm going to abstain from sexual intercourse for religious purposes, or it's just just no sex, basically? That'd be interesting to know. If you're still here, we can get that from you. Ecosme says in schools they're giving sexual miseducation. That's right. I couldn't put it better myself. That is the truth. That's a powerful truth.
It is because it is miseducation. Because then like we discussed, they're not really telling the young people the true details of it. Because if they were, they would actually be saying, "We think it's best you don't."
Yeah, like listen,
you're not ready for this. This is not for you.
100%.
Do you know what I'm saying?
I mentioned it a moment ago, and I think it's really about thinking forward. The only thing they be thinking about is GCSEs, A levels, and certifications. But what about the kind of the home and home economics? I ain't talking about the food. I'm talking about the economics of the house. Do you understand? Family management, those kind of things, and they're not fostering that, and that is a problem. That was perfect. Miseducation. What does that say? 1,000,000% at Ecosmios.
Yes.
Yep, that's right. Ecosmia says, under the guise of preventing sexual diseases and underage pregnancy. Look, that's what that's how they present it. That's how they present it. But like I said earlier on, by their fruits you shall know them.
That's right. Miss Ackerman says, yep. She's agreeing with Ecosmios. Ecosmios says, Ecosmio says, these numbers have risen exponentially since its introduction.
By their fruits you shall know them.
That's what we can say,
Free condoms is just
true.
begging people to have underage relations. Why don't they give free cigarettes too, in order to prevent underage smoking?
That's a good point.
See,
that's a really good point.
That's the logic that a lot of people will not use.
Exactly.
When evaluating things. You need to use this kind of
even
like
combat in it, exactly, to say why you might as well give them free alcohol, isn't it? Well, schools probably do.
Next one.
Ecosmia says, yes, I remember a girl with her baby in reception on the day of GCSEs, and she couldn't sit the exam as she had no one to babysit. But one of our teachers volunteered to look after the baby. It's funny because I remember a similar situation as well. And one of the girls, she was quite heavily pregnant throughout, and she was able to. She had the baby in literally just after the whole just before GCSEs began. But I don't remember her sitting all the GCSEs though. I don't remember her being. She was in the same year as me, and I don't remember her being in all of them. I remember her being 1 or 2. But then again, there was like how many to sit? 7, 8, 9. You know, and it's just one of those things. I remember her being pregnant and have not been in school the whole time, but coming in close enough for the GCSEs. I remember one again, but she just full on left. And I remember, you know, she'd come to the school to see everybody after she'd had the baby, but school was done for her. She was finished, you know what I mean? Obviously she probably went on and got an education later, because not because a young lady's had a baby doesn't mean she can't carry on with her education. You know, she can carry on. However, there's the setbacks, and then there's the whole thing of, oh, do I really want to carry on with this? Like, what's the point? What's the purpose? You get what I mean? So, yeah, those back in the day, man. Back in the day, even up to today, it's still taking place. Even probably more.
It's a lot. It's a lot of stuff.
You know. So yeah.
It's a lot of stuff. Is that Kat Johnson?
Yep, Kat Johnson says, "Go on, girl, babe."
Yeah, there was a girl in my school who had the baby a couple of weeks before exams. She came back to sit them. I think she passed a couple.
That's good.
Praise God that she made it through. Ecosmio says, question. So would you say masturbation is okay as it's not the sex?
How far did you go? You jumped quite a few. Miss I Cummins says, wow, that's sad. Ecosmio says, if you're single. Kat Johnson says, what the school...
No. We're down 2 questions before that.
No.
Question before, wow, that's sad.
That was Kat Johnson.
No.
Oh.
So question. So would you say masturbation is okay as it's not the sexual act? And if you're not using any videos or images to masturbate? I don't think it's... like, I've never understood masturbation, I'll be honest with you. And I know that can sound weird, innit? But I don't think masturbation is a good idea. Firstly, you know what, I'll leave it on this one actually. I don't believe masturbation fulfills God's plan for the individual organ. Yeah, so that part of your body. So I think we need to really be mindful. So yeah, it's a good point. We talk about the magazines and the videos and the images. So yes, removing those things is a positive thing, but I think what we need to do is we need to work towards removing masturbation altogether. Yeah, I think if masturbation is being experienced and it's something that we need to really work through, we need to talk through, we need to understand why that's there, how this came in, and again, some of these things coming from school education as well.
I was about to say,
it's a big thing
because some people never experience this stuff.
Yeah, and
some people never experience masturbation.
I vaguely remember
even want to do, have the thought
follow
of
the
that.
act. Yeah.
So those who are in that position, you really have to think, where did it come from? What are they watching? Who are they talking to?
Yeah.
Because again, I truly believe that that's also that can be tied to spiritual things.
1,000%.
That can be tied to spiritual things. The whole masturbation thing, because it's not just. As you grow, as you're growing up, you get a few things. You think to yourself, "Oh, what's that?" Do you know what I mean? You start to develop puberty and all that kind of stuff starts to hit. You can ask those questions, but it depends on what you focus your mind on to then get the results that you start to get. Because some of us grew up, kind of like, "Oh, what's that?" And then you just like, "I'm growing, innit? I'm in puberty," and you just move on. You just keep it moving. Whereas some people are then now, they might talk to someone or even talk to a teacher and the teacher's like, "Oh, you're getting these urges, you're getting these feelings." Yeah. There's a thing called masturbation that might help you soothe yourself. That might help you feel
release
better.
The tension,
Or they watch something with an older sibling, or again, people are not mindful of the children that are around them, and this is something that they start early and they take it into adulthood. So you get to some people get to their bigger age. And they're still dealing with that, and it didn't just start. Nothing just starts, So another question is it as it's not the sexual act of using any videos or games to masturbate?
Yeah, is it okay, basically? So
is it okay?
Yeah.
Now, personally, I grew up in the times where it was a thing. Do you know what I'm saying? Where young girls were going and, some of my peers were going and getting toys and all this, and summers parties and all these kind of things came out. I remember there was a shop in West End that was big, and you got like teenagers, late 20,
Yeah.
early 20s, late teens, going into these places, buying stuff to do what? Do you know what I'm saying? And it's one of those things, and I was just always like, why? What's the point in that? Just allow it. Do you know what I'm saying? Go get a boyfriend or something. That was like my, what I would have thought back in. But I don't agree. Me personally, I don't agree with masturbation at all. Yeah, that's just me.
I think if we drill down to the kind of root of it, Sarah said it accurately. It's a spiritual thing, and I think spiritual things, we need to use a spiritual mind to understand them. And if you go real deep, what is God's purpose for the organ that you're utilizing? What's God's purpose?
It's a highly fleshly thing. This is the lust of the flesh. One,
and I think it is. And
that
I think
one for me is
if we really look at it, what we're trying to do is, or what you see people trying to do is shortcut the process.
That's it.
So if I tell you my process, and I believe that celibacy is necessary and it should be from birth to marriage, then what we need to understand is, if someone says, oh, they want to practice masturbation and they want to do it, what's the word now? Without the magazine, without the imagery, without the videos. So where does that come in? If you're doing it in that period before you're getting married, then the person's trying to arouse something that shouldn't be aroused, appease something that shouldn't be appeased, awaken something that doesn't need to be awoken.
Yeah.
So I think that's it. So if you look at the kind of span of life, there's a period where you go through abstinence. There's a period you experience celibacy. Then there's a period where it is in marriage where sexual intercourse, sexual relationships are opened. Once they're open, then you engage in that. And we asked you the question already, and I'll kind of touch on it now. Yes, during marriage, there are periods where you go without, you would abstain from intercourse. This is a spiritual practice. It's noted as a spiritual practice. There's scriptural basis and reference for this. And this is something that should be done and is necessary for every couple to do. And I mentioned it earlier on, just in touching on it, that this is how we're able to develop our relationship. It's not just about intercourse, but it's also about spending time with the one that ensures our relationship is bound with the glue that we need, basically. So I hope that answers your question.
It's also a thing that I feel like it's encouraged to single people. Like, oh, if you're single, do this, do that, do that kind of thing. And then that just...
I'll tackle you on that. Listen, so you asked me a question earlier about what if someone is highly active and someone isn't. And this is where something like that would come in. And they'd say to you, okay, the person who is whose needs are not being met, they should practice masturbation. This is what they'd say. So it's like, and maybe in that instance they'd say, oh yeah, you can.
A husband?
A husband or a wife.
Or
and
wife.
Listen, they'd say, oh yeah, you can look at pictures of your wife or whatever. And it's like, or your husband. So do you understand? It's like, these are the kind of things that they would, a logic that someone would use to incorporate that into marriage. So as you're right, I do believe it's marketed a lot to people who are single. However, listen, they will try any which way.
They
understand?
They would.
I don't think it's right. Yes, so then we had those other comments that you kind of shouted at, which was Miss I. Cameron. She said, "Wow, that is sad." E. Cosmios said, "I think she added this to the question before, which is if you're single, basically."
Right. Okay.
So I don't think it's good if you're married or if you're single, really. Then we got Kat Johnson. Are we on the same page now? Okay, you want to go for that?
Kat Johnson said, what the school deal with is the physicality of sex, not really the emotions behind it. It's dangerous.
100%, I agree with that. And like I said just a moment ago, these are spiritual things, and we really need to address them spiritually. There is the soulish realm, the emotional, the kind of the mindset, the will, the desire, those things, and we are complex entities. The Bible says we're made in the image of God, and it's important that we understand that if we deal with ourselves solely on the physical realm, there's a problem. If we deal with ourselves solely on in the emotional plane, there's a problem. If we even look at ourselves solely in the spiritual realm, I've heard of people that say, oh, they just stay in the room and read the Bible all day long. Like, that's a problem. That's a big problem. Do you understand? Like, because God called you to interact. Like, tell me which prophet, which king, which person in the Old Testament that God called not to have any interaction with nobody. I don't genuinely see that is the nature of God being expressed in the life of mankind. So that was a good point.
Yeah.
Yes, very true. At Kat Johnson, E. Cosmios says
sexual compatibility.
So I think that was
the question that we put forward, saying what are some of the pros that people have come up with for sex before marriage.
Hopefully we addressed that. I think we touched on that. We touched on that somewhat. Thank you so much for that answer, E. Cosmios. We appreciate that. She's laughing. And
Question.
So, do you think being a virgin is better for marriage? If so, why? Would you say more experience would make a better partner? Do you want to answer that?
Would you say more experience makes a better partner?
Go for the first part first. Would you say,
Yes. Oh, sorry, yeah.
Being a virgin is better for marriage?
You know what? I'm not gonna 100% yes. The reason why I say 100% yes is because your husband or your wife, you have to learn.
That's right.
It's like starting from scratch. You're not saying this isn't good, this isn't bad. You've got nothing to measure it with. You're measuring it on yourselves. Do you get what I mean? So it's not. And then there's the whole thing of not having to deal with thoughts running through your head of the person from the past, or images or things that you've experienced, and that there's, the hurt isn't there. Those negative attachments that one has had before they got married isn't there. So 100% being a virgin is 100% better for both male and female, because you're coming in as one, and it's not like after sex, it's not like, oh man, that was just rubbish, because I remember back in 19 whatever thing it was about. Do you know what I mean? You ain't got to deal with all that kind of stuff. And believe me, it just makes life. It makes your marriage so much more enjoyable when you're not weighing, when you haven't got a scale that you're trying to drop things on, and you think to yourself, this isn't working. Or even the whole, oh, I don't like it. What do you mean? Where are you getting that from?
Come on.
Where are you getting that from? I don't like it. Oh, it's not right. It doesn't feel right. Blah, blah, blah. Where's all that?
How do you know what it's supposed to feel like?
Do you know what I mean? So when you're...
And I know the common line is it hurts. That's what people say, it hurts.
Exactly.
And listen,
exactly.
Like time and time again, I know that like sisters have made that reference. Oh, it hurts. And it's like,
Why don't men make that reference?
Look, it can hurt sometimes. Like, listen, there is an uncomfortable feeling. There is pain and there's discomfort. And I think it's important for us to learn the difference of the two. Like, this ain't a class about that, so we ain't going into that.
Yeah,
right now.
so it is, for me, I just think it's 100% better, because your marriage is, I talk about that protection a lot, about building that wall around your marriage that you don't want anyone knocking down, okay? All these previous relationships that people have had before they enter marriage is also a way of knocking down a marriage, because of all the things that they can compare to. The person, the this, the that, the this, the that. Especially if people have gotten married without one being 100% committed to that person. Because there are people that have gotten married and then they've divorced a year later. That's because they didn't enter the marriage with a 100% commitment. They got married with the nice idea of getting married, but they didn't get married to be 100% committed to this person for life. I don't hear what anyone says, because if that was the case, then you do your best to work on it. 1 year, 2 year, that's a no. So yes, 100%. I think it's better. What about you, babe?
Yeah, I'd say I thought of it's a bit gross, but I thought of an illustration. Would you prefer to blow your nose? I'll start with the light version first. Would you prefer to blow your nose with a virgin tissue or with a tissue that had already been utilised? Let me go one deeper. Watch this now. Watch this. Let's go real gross. So you
mean an unused tissue instead of virgin tissue?
So
unused tissue or a tissue with someone's book.
If you were listen, you're in the toilet. You've just finished.
Oh my days, Zeke is going in today.
There's some tissue, and it's already been used. But you need some tissue. Now, would you feel comfortable? And listen, I know I'm being jovial about it, but this is the point I'm trying to make. Look.
Sometimes you got to give some serious illustration for people to really see the density of it.
This isn't us condemning anyone. I want to understand something. If you're being presented with a relationship or a person who's not a virgin, that's not a reason. No, stay away from me. You know what I mean? You've been deflowered. I think that's one old language. Defiled. You've been defiled. Deflowered. Okay, yeah. Stay back from me. Stay back. Okay, it's not that. So, like I said earlier on, we need to go into these things with prayer, with counsel, in wisdom. This is very, very important. But yes, there are advantages. The Bible presents this. If you have the
opportunity to, why not?
But if you can be a virgin, be a virgin, 100%. And I think Sarah's given a lot of the good reasons why. Would you say more experience would be better? Would make a better partner? Yes, 100%. More experience helps. Not more sexual experience, more spiritual experience.
That's right.
More relationship experience, more prayer, relationship with God experience, more prayer experience. Like all of those experiences, there are key. They are absolute key for you to have a successful relationship.
Yeah, because what's experience for one marriage is not experience for another marriage. Some people's
relationship relationship, absolutely,
exactly. You know, so again, it's based on an individual. It's based on that couple, what they believe to be experience. You know what I'm saying? So. One couple might like to do something completely out of this world idea. Another person just, do you know what I mean? Some people just, you know, so experience of people are completely different. So, but definitely I mean, you know, sometimes people are like, oh, but they want someone who's experienced because, you know, blah, blah, blah. I don't know about that. I don't think it's a good idea.
Kat Johnson says, I just remember the question you asked me earlier, and I think you asked me something that was pertaining to that. You said, do I think that... we'll come back to it anyway. Kat Johnson, 1,000%. You definitely have to be on the same page because it will get to a point when in courtship, when it gets difficult and both got to be able to say no. No one leading the other into sin, LOL. Yeah, I think that's key. And this comes down to hard talk, hard questions, hard answers. Yeah. Sarah said it earlier on, really having that clarity of the person you're dealing with. You don't want to be kind of 2 years in, 2 months in, 2 weeks in, realising, wow, all this pressure's coming to me now that I didn't have before. And you've now committed to this thing. So absolutely that is true. Dancing, certain people don't have the rhythm. I think that's what it was. The rhythm and the swag. Yes, Ecosmios. Ecosmios says, reason to try sexual compatibility. What if we're just not the same stuff and doing it the same ways? Yeah, you know, look, Sarah's, you just answered that. And I think the key is to be committed and devoted to your partner to the point you're going to make it work. That's all it comes down to. We will make it work. Listen, right. I can tell you some stories about us two, but we figured it out.
You got to book a paid session for that one.
Yeah, boy, there you go. You heard her. We'll try to put some link to the description for you guys.
Miss Ikamin says, I got told when I was younger that you must try before you get married to make sure the man is not selfish. Apparently, if he was selfish in the bedroom, he'd be selfish in day-to-day life and would definitely be a cheater. Wow.
I pray for the person that gave you that advice, that they don't give that advice to never young people in the name of Jesus.
Amen.
Listen.
But you know what? This is the thing. If that advice was given to her by an adult, that shows a lot of what's happening here, because a lot of adults do have that opinion, and because they have that opinion, they're not going to teach a young person any different. You see, so we do have that going on in society, because for them, for that person, they would have probably thought, if only they tried before they bought, they wouldn't be in this, whatever situation they were in, you know. So for me, like I was saying about, we have to teach our children celibacy. Some people are actually teaching young people, it's cool, because you don't want to end up again. But where they're getting that from, their bad experiences and their way of thinking, what happened to them as a young, you know what I mean? So
what that person said,
it's a big issue.
What that person says is not wrong. When I say that, what do I mean? I mean that the character and nature of a person will be expressed throughout their whole life. You understand? So if a person is selfish, maybe they will be selfish in the bedroom. Maybe they'll be selfish with their money. Maybe they will be selfish in their conversation. Maybe they'll be selfish in their
selfish
food.
in the bedroom means they don't want to have it. They don't like it.
Who knows what it means? The fact of the matter is, the point is this: not all knowledge is equal. All right? Okay. Not all knowledge is valuable. Okay. Just because I know some stuff don't necessarily mean I need to be telling everybody else. Understand? Because what I know might not be right. Right. And this is the problem. It's like, that's why I pray for the person, because you see that kind of advice. Like what the person was saying was, have sex so you can know. What they should have been telling Mrs. Ackerman is, learn to identify so you don't need to have sex. Don't they're telling Miss Akame to give some of herself away so she can evaluate someone else's character. What she needs to learn to do, what she should have been telling her is learn to observe. If you can see selfish traits in that person, maybe that's not what you want.
Exactly.
But not give of yourself something that you can't get back so that you can evaluate. That's very, very, very dangerous.
Especially for a young person, you should be like saying things like, ask him if you can have that last meat on his plate. If he says no, then you know he's selfish.
Oh my goodness.
You know what I mean? Wow. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Yeah, that was rich. Thank you.
Exactly. Thank you so much for sharing that. That was powerful.
Cat John says, try before you buy is a con. You can learn together after you're married, mate. Now, come on. That's it. Cat Johnson's on a roll. I hear that.
Reasons
says, to try.
What if he smells?
Small? No,
small. Oh, what if he's small? Oh, yeah.
Yes. So I made
that was another one.
Listen. So I made the point. I made the point earlier on. I made the point earlier on, and obviously I didn't go into the details of it, the mechanics. And I was saying about physiology. And the reality is, look, a man is a man, a woman is a woman. The fundamental fact of the matter is, we work with what we've got. That's what it is. And it's like you can't be focused on the fact that this and there's two challenges here. One challenge is how do you know he's small? Because you're comparing him to someone else.
Exactly.
This is the issue that we've got. So, and it's like we have to learn, firstly, to be led by the Spirit, because you need to marry someone who the Lord will make compatible with you. But secondly, obviously, it's important to work with what you have to make things work. Do you understand? So it's very important.
Again, that what if it's small thing comes from movies, music, media, just the way things have been portrayed. Again, that's why I said, if you can marry a virgin, because you're not going to know what's big and what's small. What's yours is yours. Yeah, you know what I mean?
It's the issue. It's that carnal aspect of life, the carnal mindset that people are focused on.
100%.
Mrs. Akame says, this is why God's plan is so perfect. If two virgins, man and woman, come together and get married, there's no issues.
That's
you
right.
learn about each other's likes and dislikes.
Perfect.
100%.
That's right. Kat Johnson says, where is the boundary of intimacy? Oh, okay.
Where's the boundary of intimacy? So are we talking about, you need to give me some more light on that. Are you talking about in relationships, in dating, in courting? I don't do dating, but in courting and marriage, what are we talking about? If you can give me a little bit more on that, then I'll be happy to answer that for you.
Yeah.
Oops, I think I hit the wrong button. What do you have?
Kat Johnson is laughing at Ecos Bios, but probably what if it's small one?
Okay.
That was funny.
Ecosmios, reasons. I saw reasons to try. What if it turns out they have some weird sexual fantasies I'm not down with? You answer that with hard questions before you get there. So firstly, hard questions.
And counselling.
Hard questions, you pray that you get those things opened up. Generally, something like this will come from two things. Challenges in terms of being a younger person, some things they went through, or influences. So it's challenges like something that they experience physically, and then so then there's the tendency to kind of find escapism, and then there's influences. A lot of people, again, the media, those kind of things, and that's where these kind of fantasies come from. So it's definitely rooted in something in that arena. It's definitely up here somewhere or down here somewhere. So those are the challenges we've got. You want to ask hard questions early, and you want to get a gauge for that. You're never really going to know that. And as Sister Sarah said, after the fact, if you find yourself in that situation, this is something you have to work through with coaching, with counselling, with spiritual counsel specifically, because those are some serious things that need to get worked out.
Definitely.
I kind of see that like in the same vein as the whole masturbation thing, really. Good question. Mrs. I can win, and there no comparison from other guys that you're now comparing him to for you to be comparing size, style, rhythm, LOL. Super. True. There you go. 100%.
And Miss Akame says exactly at Ecos Mios. Ecos Mios says, good question at Kat Johnson. We're waiting for Kat Johnson to come back with a little bit.
Okay, here we go. Is kissing okay? Hand holding. I know people that don't advocate dancing together. It's an essential act. So if we're talking about that, if we're talking about intimacy from the perspective of what's the word? Courting. So the boundaries need to be set. I'd say there are some hard boundaries. So I'd say, look, don't put your tongue in someone else's mouth. Like, do you know what I'm saying?
Kissing, I think, is definitely a no-no. So because that leads, that sets some fire.
Anything that is going to initiate. Remember we spoke before about the chemicals or hormonal shifts, and that can happen for different people at different spaces. But you want to know yourself, know the person you're dealing with, and really set those boundaries. I'd be like, no kissing, hugging is kind of cool, like holding hands.
Depends on what kind of hugs,
Yes.
though.
So listen. The occasional hug,
Like hug
on a greeting.
Hug as you're leaving. Bye.
Yeah, like I see. Even that is, that's what I'm saying. Even that can just be like the occasional hug as your greeting is okay. But not it's like those long hugs. You just don't want to let go. And just kind of smelling them. Like that's a problem. Do you know what I'm saying? That's deep. Do you know what I'm saying? So
yeah, but okay. So
physical contact is really the line. Do you understand that? So you must measure your physical contact. I'd say, yeah. Sorry, go on.
I mean, personally, okay, I definitely physical contact. There's a line, but again, if you're getting to know someone and you're both talking about your past and your experiences and things like that, and you really don't want to cause the other person to begin to lust, it's definitely the man and the woman's duty to ensure that they're doing all that they can to protect their future spouse from falling into a place of heavy lust before they actually get married. So what I mean is, if these two people are not virgins, and they're celibate because they're trying to live right now, and they're doing everything properly, but they've both had experiences before, they will already know their sensitivity spots. They already know if he kisses her on the neck, she's done.
Listen.
Do you get what I'm saying? So
this is a stream in itself. We can't do that now. This is a stream. This is a stream.
And for him, it could be like, oh, if she holds his hand and rubs the thumb, it's her act. Do you get what I mean? So so for me, 100% physical touch is definitely something that. And I think through conversations, you know what, for me, it's a lot of talking. I feel like a lot of talking can help people through the process. Talking a lot, building your communication can help you through the process. And that will definitely, because kissing is not okay. I mean, if you peck someone on the lip after every time you see them before they go, it's only going to be so long before the tongue ends up in the mouth. Do you get what I mean?
There's a phrase I heard before. I can't remember what it's called.
It's not okay.
Kiss
Holding
rape or
hands.
something. Kiss rape. You know that?
Oh my goodness.
It's the one where I can't remember.
And they're just like.
Yeah. It's like some odd phrase. Like, I don't know what it's called.
Crazy.
Some odd phrase, but listen.
I think holding hands is okay. I think holding hands is okay.
Look,
because
listen, Rex.
Alright, fine.
We're gonna do a stream on this another time. You lot are lighten up the comment section, yeah. I want to get through your comments.
Dancing together. I was gonna say that one's a no. That is a no. Especially if the person knows how to dance. You get me? If you two sidestep, then just call the problem.
Mrs. Akame says, "Come on now, guard yourself." Yeah.
That's right.
Mrs. Akame says, "Can't see that masturbation question either." Let me reload the chat. Okay, it was there. I had it.
It was there. I saw it. It came after.
Nope, still can't see it. That question went under the radar, but Brother Zeke caught it. Thank you. Gotcha. Someone tried to delete the question, innit? I can't see it. Maybe you're in top chat, not live chat. Okay.
Yeah, I can see it as well.
Yes, masturbation root is in self-pleasure. God is not.
Where's that?
God is not in that or on that, as Sarah, and that's lust of the flesh. Thank you, Mrs. Akamwin. Okay. Oh wow! Yes, at Ecosmios, I didn't even know there was a difference. I just found the option to change. You guys are working at the chat today.
Okay,
yeah?
Hold on. I think you've missed a few still.
No. I'm
after guard yourself. No, I still can't see the chat.
Okay. Haha, no probs. Got to make sure you switch it.
Okay,
at the filters.
sorry.
Okay, you guys are still.
You got it.
Still going there. Let's see if I'm. Read it. You go.
No, Mr. Ackerman says virgin tissue. She's busted up. Ecosmios has got that sick face emoji on.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So it's like we got.
Oh my gosh, Ackerman says too. Mr. Ackerman says too funny. Ecosmios says prevention is better than cure, definitely. Mrs. Ackerman says yes, bro. That's it. Learn to observe. I think she was talking about that comment from earlier about instead of being taught, Yeah. Are you good now?
I'm back. Ecosmios says it means they won't be a generous lover. They'll take, and not a giver. Not willing to please the other person and their needs. E.g., maybe his wife likes a pre-massage, etc. Yep, that could be the truth. And Mr. Camwin, I think she caught it earlier on. So what I was saying is just really about observing, really trying to understand them. And that's what part of what we're doing here with you guys is to really help us kind of observe ourselves in marriage, observe ourselves in the courting phase, and really have those marriages that are successful and really developing that authentic love. Mrs. Akamwin says, the silly thing is, the woman who gave me the advice was her dance teacher at the time, and it was her and her mum giving her the advice. And the woman was just going through a breakup with her
term boyfriend.
Wow.
Because he had just cheated. See?
Hear this, yeah? What does I say? By their fruits, you shall know them.
That's right.
Let's keep going, fam.
That's right.
Listen.
That's right. That's right.
What is intimacy boundary in courtship? How far is too far? And if there is a boundary in marriage?
Yes. I think Kat Johnson went to answer the question.
Thank you so much. Yeah, no, I asked her to repeat it. So thank you so much for that. I hope I answered your question. If there's anything specific we didn't get to, shout me back and we'll tackle that for you.
Yeah.
Ecosmia says, this is why being introduced to and watching pornography as a young child is so dangerous. It sets crazy, unrealistic expectations and leaves a bad impression for an influential mind at a crucial point
in your life.
We must not permit entities outside of the institution of marriage to govern or raise our children. If we do, the responsibility lies with us, okay? It lies with us in the beginning and it still lies with us after they have been their views have been contorted. So remember that. Dancing can be sensual if you make it sensual. T-Cam. You know what? Listen, if you're whining, that's sensual. If you're not whining, then
please.
No. Let's
not pretend that it's only whining that can be sensual.
What I'm saying is, a whine is a sensual dance. I'm saying there are dances that are sensual. Like you see some of these country dances people be doing. We were in thingy, or we were abroad a while ago. These country that ain't sensual. Then the music changed and everyone was in some country whine, some country hug. So you got to be mindful. When we were in St. Lucia them time, we saw that. So it's like there are different types of dancing. So I hear what you're saying. Dancing can be sensual if you make it sensual. I believe that there are sensual dances and there are dances that are not sensual. If my body's touching your body, like that's we sensing each other. That's sensual. You know, we holding hands and smiling. Do you know what I'm saying? So
no, because obviously, I'm just kind of picturing, something in my head. So you've got two people who are courting, they're at a wedding or something, they've been invited to a friend's wedding, and you know the music that is, you know, you can dance by yourself is on. So would you say the moment the song, the rhythm changes and it's now you now run back and get your Flemish and start sitting down kind of thing? Again, it's maturity, isn't it? It's maturity. It's kind of like knowing.
I'd say it's physiology and we need to be careful. So look, this again is another big topic. What my point is this. You could dance with someone now. The effects of that dance won't hit you for an hour.
Oh, that's true, you know.
And this is a problem.
That is so true.
Because we be thinking about,
did you catch that? Did you catch that? Have you experienced that?
Because we be like, we're rubbing on each other. It's like sometimes it ain't even that. It's
true.
Thoughts.
It's
it
true.
Could be a simple, it could be an innocent dance.
So
and then the thoughts that are triggered from that come later. Wow, those shoulders were
so true. No, come on, if you've experienced that, you gotta say something. That's a really good point.
I think we need to be mindful of that. Yeah,
that's a really good point, babe.
You guys are trying to open up a new stream now. You know, we've been going for a minute. Mrs. Icanwin says, thank God I was intelligent enough to realise obviously her own advice did not work for her. Come on now, by their fruits, they were not celibate, and after years of being together with him, he had been cheating for time. Come on, look at that. Come on, you know that. You read that scripture, didn't you? You read that scripture.
Ecosmia says, church hug, them side hugs.
Come on,
that's
fam.
right, come on now.
We need to keep it moving, fam. The new one's this is a new one, isn't it? Come on, fam.
That's it.
Keep it like that. Leave enough room for the Holy Spirit. It's what I heard growing up. Listen, you see that? Yeah, I'm biting that. I'm biting that. I like that. When we hug, look, the Holy Spirit should be in between us as we're hugging.
Okay,
let the Holy Spirit be there as we hug. Yeah, you understand?
Amen to that.
Come on. Yes, that Ecosmios. I used to hear that one. And listen, I ain't never heard that, but
I've never heard that
now.
either. That's a good one. I like that.
T-Can says, rubs the farm. Yeah, listen.
Well, you didn't listen. There are people out there that like some strange things. Like because you never know what can tick someone. Do you get what I'm saying? Tickle someone's fancy. Exactly. You know, some people are, strange.
Yeah. So Grace is laughing at that. She heard that one. Ecosmius, hand holding once you engaged. Yeah.
Well,
look, I can't listen. I'm not even answering. I can't answer that. I cannot answer the question. Look, physical touch.
It's a thing, you know,
powerful. Because
you know what? I feel like even that, the holding of hands in a relationship makes a statement, doesn't it? It does make a statement. It's kind of like, you know, obviously again, it makes a statement, but it's also something that we kind of we grow up doing. You hold the hand of someone, of your friend. You're walking back from school, you're holding their hand. You know, you're chit chatting, you're laughing. You and your girls are holding hands, or whatever it may be. And then you get to that courting, that stage where you're about to enter into a serious relationship, and automatically people relate holding hands to friendship, kind of like, we're friends, so we should be able to hold hands, kind of thing. They don't really see anything in it, you know. But then when two people are trying to take it somewhere, that holding hands kind of makes a statement. You know, ladies, has your husband ever held your hand in a way where you just feel like, wow, this was a real handhold? Do you know what I'm saying? And imagine having that feeling with someone that you're not married to yet. That can kick something off as well. So, you know, some people might be like, yeah, holding hands is fine, it's cute, it's innocent, there's nothing to it. But there's a lot that can be read into holding hands, in my opinion. Yeah,
I totally agree. I think there is like, physical touch is massively important, and it's underrated. Physical touch is underrated, and we need to really evaluate that for what it truly is. So Cosmia says, country isn't central to you, but if you grew up in the Midwest of America, then a man that can dozy do. I don't know what that is, but okay,
that's a country dance.
I see you. So, boy, that's a lot of stuff right there. Mrs. I Can Win is creasing, and so is Kat Johnson
as well.
Wow.
Right, I think we got to the end of the comments on that. Thank you all.
Listen.
100%. Thank you so much.
It's been a joy and a pleasure.
Yeah, thank you. Miss I Can Win says, yes, at Sarah, her husband has held her hand in a way where she just feels like, I'm about to leave this world.
Look, I hope this stream today has been beneficial. I hope it's not just been entertaining, but it's been informative and educational for those of you who are interested in much of the kind of stuff we're talking about now. Celibacy is a real issue for those of us who are courting. It's a real issue for those of us. Abstinence is a real issue for those of us in marriage. I know we didn't really get to tackle that side of it today because my heart was really focused on the aspects that we touched on today. So potentially we'll have another stream about this at some point going forward. But you got some more?
T-Can is giving me jokes.
T-Can says, wow, this was a real handhold.
And T-Can says, my hand is only held in a foreign country when I'm crossing the road. After that,
it's like that.
After that, let's go. Oh wow, thank you so much.
Listen, we've got to keep it. We've got to keep those. We've got to keep it regulated. And boy, it seems like even T-Can's got some regulations going on there. So,
amen. Yes, I think you know what it's a real pleasure, honestly, sitting here having this conversation with you. Thank you so much, all of you that have left your comments and really shared from your heart. It's so important because the comments that are on here, when someone goes back and watches the videos later, they're going to see, and we truly believe that people will learn from the things that have been shared. So,
absolutely.
Yeah, we appreciate every comment that comes through.
Thank you guys all so much.
Yes.
I've been Ezekiel.
And I've been Sarah.
And we're here today for another episode of Marriage Matters Live. We'll catch you in a fortnight. God bless you richly.
Yes. Oh, wait, remember to like, share and subscribe
there,
if
please,
you haven't. We love you guys. And yes, and also as well, if you know any young people that you feel would benefit from this particular topic that we've spoken about today, singles, young people, whatever, share it with them. Just send it to them on their WhatsApp, Telegram, whatever. There's this new one, Signal. You do your thing. We'll appreciate it.
See you guys later.
Yes.
Bye for now.